Dave Rubin has a brutal message for Ilhan Omar and Stephen King spreading lies about Charlie Kirk. The studio lights were bright, casting a sharp glow across Dave Rubin's desk as he leaned forward in his chair. The Rubin Report backdrop shone in calm blues and grays, but the man at the center was anything but calm. His fingers drummed impatiently against the desk, his eyes narrow, focused, as though he were preparing for a courtroom showdown rather than another broadcast. He had been in media for years, but there was something in the air tonight, something more personal. "All right," Rubin began, his tone clipped, his gaze locked on the camera lens as though staring through it and into the living rooms of thousands of Americans. "I wasn't going to address this nonsense. But when the lies come fast and furious, when they target people I know personally, and when they're amplified by people who should damn well know better, it has to stop." His viewers knew at once where this was going. Twitter had been ablaze all week, with the names, Charlie Kirk, Ilhan Omar, and, surprisingly, Stephen King, trending together in an unholy alliance of controversy. It started, as most things did these days, with a half-baked accusation. A left-leaning blogger had thrown out the claim that Charlie Kirk, conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, had covert ties to extremist groups. The claim was tenuous at best, spun from guilt by association, a photograph here, a handshake there. But then Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman known for her fierce rhetoric, retweeted the allegation with a stinging caption. "Charlie Kirk is the face of the dangerous radicalization poisoning our country. Why are Republicans silent?" That might have been one thing. Omar's critics would chalk it up as just another political broadside, the kind she had become known for. But when Stephen King, one of the most famous authors in the world, weighed in, things escalated from Twitter chatter to mainstream firestorm. King had tweeted to his millions of followers, "If you're wondering where the hate is coming from, look no further than people like Charlie Kirk. Dangerous demagogues don't just rise, they're nurtured." The words reverberated far beyond the digital sphere. Newspapers picked it up, cable shows discussed it, and suddenly Charlie Kirk's name was once again on the defensive side of the news cycle. That was when Dave Rubin had had enough. On screen, his voice rose. "Ilhan Omar parrots baseless accusations without evidence, as she's done 100 times before. But Stephen King, a man who has sold millions of books, who built his reputation on storytelling and creativity, spreading outright lies about Charlie Kirk to his massive audience. That's beyond politics. That's character assassination." Rubin paused, letting his words settle, then leaned back, hands clasped in front of him. "And here's my brutal message to both of you. You don't get to destroy reputations just because you disagree with someone's worldview. You don't get to call someone a radical or a threat to democracy without proof. You think Charlie Kirk is wrong on immigration, or education, or gender ideology? Fine. Debate him. He'll show up. He'll argue his case, he'll take the punches. But spreading lies to your millions of followers is intellectual cowardice, plain and simple." In Minnesota, Ilhan Omar's office staff scrolled through the growing firestorm. They were used to attacks. Omar's name seemed to draw them as surely as honey drew bees. Still, this one felt different. The headlines weren't about her agenda, her policies, or even her sharp tongue in Congress. They were about her personal role in amplifying what critics now called a smear campaign. Meanwhile, in Maine, Stephen King's team tried to temper the backlash. King himself was famously outspoken on social media, often firing off opinions late at night with little concern for fallout. But the accusation against Charlie Kirk had struck a chord with conservatives, and even a few moderates, who now accused the horror author of peddling fiction outside of his novels. Back in Los Angeles, Dave Rubin wasn't done. He brought up clips of Charlie Kirk speaking at college campuses. "Look at this," Rubin said, playing a snippet where Kirk debated students on capitalism. "Agree or disagree, this is not the rhetoric of a radical extremist. This is someone engaging ideas, maybe in ways you don't like, maybe in ways you find challenging, but to leap from that to, he's dangerous, he's spreading hate. That's not just dishonest, it's defamatory." The live chat beside Rubin's stream flew by at lightning speed. "Exactly," one viewer typed. Another wrote, "They hate him because he's effective." Someone else chimed in, "King should stick to writing horror, not politics." Rubin then raised the stakes. "Let's play a game," he said. "Let's hold Ilhan Omar and Stephen King to their own standards. Omar wants to lecture us about dangerous rhetoric. This is the same Ilhan Omar who once trivialized 9/11 as, some people did something. The same Ilhan Omar who has aligned herself with groups that excuse extremism. And Stephen King. He's written some of the most grotesque, violent, disturbing imagery in modern literature, and he wants to police other people's words as dangerous. Are you kidding me? It was the kind of blunt contrast Rubin had built his career on, and it hit like a hammer. Charlie Kirk himself eventually joined the fray, releasing a video in which he appeared visibly shaken but defiant. "I've been called many things over the years," he said. "I've been shouted down, protested, even threatened. But when elected officials and cultural icons spread lies about you, it's not just an attack on me, it's an attack on every young conservative who dares to speak out. Because if they can smear me, they can smear you." The response was immediate. Conservative allies rallied behind Kirk, echoing Rubin's outrage. Hashtags like #StandWithCharlie and #KingOfSmears trended. Supporters flooded Stephen King's mentions, demanding a retraction. Omar doubled down, insisting her tweet was about patterns of dangerous behavior, rather than specific proof, but the pushback only grew louder. On the other side, progressives defended Omar and King, accusing Rubin and Kirk of weaponizing outrage to silence legitimate criticism. "This isn't about lies," one activist posted. "This is about holding extremists accountable." But even among some moderates, the argument fell flat. The more Rubin replayed Omar's and King's words against the actual record of Kirk's speeches, the more the gap between accusation and reality became clear. A week later, Rubin invited Charlie Kirk onto his show. The two sat across from each other, the tension still palpable. Kirk looked weary but determined. "Dave," he said, "this isn't just about me. This is about the precedent. If they can brand me as a radical without evidence, they can brand any conservative student, any parent speaking at a school board meeting, any citizen who disagrees with their agenda." Rubin nodded. "That's why I went hard on this. Because if we let them win by lies, if we let the biggest voices, politicians and cultural giants, decide who gets to speak and who doesn't, then free society collapses." In the end, the controversy faded as quickly as it had ignited, as social media cycles always do. Stephen King refused to delete his tweet but went silent on the matter. Omar moved on to her next political fight. But the bruise lingered, not just for Charlie Kirk, but for the broader conversation about truth, lies, and the cost of public rhetoric. Rubin closed his follow-up show with a quiet but pointed reminder. "This isn't about left or right," he said. "It's about truth. And the truth is not a toy for politicians or novelists to twist when it suits them. If we don't hold the line, the lies will win. And when the lies win, we all lose." His words hung in the air long after the cameras shut off, a brutal message not just for Ilhan Omar and Stephen King, but for anyone who believed that reputations could be destroyed without consequence in the age of social media.